Hi folks, my name is Anna Holder. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Open Data Science Equity and Tribal Coordinator for the State Water Board's Office of Information Management and Analysis. Today, I'm going to give an overview of the Equity Data Handbook we've been developing in our office, which will include a peek into each chapter. I'll also give you a heads up of some upcoming opportunities water boards folks might want to consider opting into later this year. This is a recording. Obviously, if we were live, there would be a questions and discussion section. Hopefully the presentation answers all of your questions, but if not, there are ways for you to reach out if you have additional questions after watching the whole recording. Before we go any further, I like to pause here and note that over the past 6 years, as OWEMA and our partners have been developing these resources and working diligently to support the rest of the water boards with operationalizing open science and equity, we often receive requests for easier, faster, less nuanced, less resource-intensive ways to do this work. It makes sense that we receive these types of requests. Working in a large bureaucratic system like ours can be difficult. Many at the water boards are used to managing lots of coordination, process, and procedures that can be tedious and time-consuming, and it's refreshing when we can achieve our desired outcomes without all of that. We can and should use open science principles and tools to increase the efficiency, transparency, and accessibility of many aspects of our work. However, there is no shortcut, no easy button, no quick checklist for operationalizing equity. As you know, the inequities and injustices that we are trying to dismantle are complex, systemic, interconnected, and a consequence of centuries of unjust and oppressive decisions that many of us have inherited. Unfortunately, for many at the water boards, this work is done in addition to our core duties at the time of this recording. Our hope in OWEMA is to help our organizations shift our collective mindsets and workloads so that this work is no longer considered separate from or in addition to our daily work, but an integral and essential aspect of our work as public servants. It has been my experience that this work travels at the speed of trust. The trust we have with our teams, our partners, and the public, and it requires lots of time to build or rebuild relationships and trust, to reassess and revise how we work, and to do the work itself, to develop and implement tasks and projects. It requires resources, financial, human, and technical. We need all of it to succeed. And it requires iteration. We're probably not going to get everything right on the first attempt, but what's important is we do our best with what we have, learn, adapt, and try again until we do get things right. The projects and resources I'll discuss next have been developed in direct response to our colleagues who fiercely want to do this work. They're committed and they want to do it right and also right now. We hope that by rolling out these resources and speaking more publicly about them here, our community of equity and data practitioners and partners at the water boards and beyond will continue to grow. The Equity Data Handbook is a living resource with curated best practices and guidance that's meant to support water board staff with incorporating racial equity concepts, principles, and practices into their data-related work. A one-size-fits-all approach to operationalizing equity doesn't work and by definition is not equitable. Also, this handbook was not designed to be a top-down directive or a requirement for all staff to implement every single piece of this handbook into their work. Rather, it's meant to serve as a reference, a guide with steps and frameworks and questions to consider as we do our data-intensive work, as well as a compilation of curated resources that staff can reuse and remix to lower barriers and reduce the time it takes for them to integrate and operationalize equity into their workflows. As you can see through the detailed table of contents on the bottom right side of the slide, there's a lot within the handbook. We'll use some time today to introduce you to what's into each chapter, but if your eyes are like mine, the text on that slide might be a little bit tiny. Don't worry, a larger version with clickable links is provided as a backup slide in the slide deck that's linked in the same place as this recording, and it's also on the bottom of the welcome page of the handbook itself. I would argue that the earliest versions of the handbook we have today started being developed in 2020. At that time, as we all may remember, we were facing, observing, and experiencing a racial reckoning in our country that for many, not for all, but for many, was different from anything we'd seen prior, particularly in the media. Staff throughout our organization were eager to use data and tools to help them understand and assess equity and justice in their work. OEMA did our best to support these requests, but it admittedly was a bit of a scramble to do so. We were reacting to the needs as they came as best as we could with the limited resources and capacity we had at that time. In early 2024, we were able to assemble an equity team within the office and dedicate time and resources to developing guidance as assigned to us by the Racial Equity Action Plan for the State Water Board. And based on what we observed and learned by responding to staff requests the 3 years prior. We put an early guidance document together, focusing mostly on data collection and analysis, and solicited our first round of internal review and feedback from the Environmental Justice Roundtable's Racial Equity Data Subcommittee. Starting in mid-2024, we had the bandwidth and capacity to expand the guidance and resources we were curating to include all phases of the data lifecycle, not just data collection and analysis. This took the document from something that was about 20 pages to over 130 pages if you printed it out. Please don't print it out, save a tree. That's a lot of material, and we've heard from many that digesting everything all at once can be overwhelming. I hear you, and we'll come back to that bit of feedback in a moment. Regardless, we feel strongly that the breadth and depth of the handbook as it is now, and as we expect it to grow moving forward, is essential and will help support our organization well into the future. We have the guidance ready to go, so when someone comes to us with an urgent request for help, we are prepared to point them to the sections and resources that most apply to their situation and allow us all to move forward more quickly and with more confidence in our data and equity-related decisions. In 2025, we focused on an internal iterative review process to continue to build on what we had already developed and think about how we can continue to improve the handbook moving forward. I've talked about the purpose, context, and strategy behind the handbook and its development already, but they're listed here side by side for ease of reference. What I want to point you to on this slide is the audience. The primary audience for this handbook, the folks we wrote it for, are the Water Board staff doing the work on a daily basis. These are our practitioners that work with data in any form and are responsible for implementing any phase of the data lifecycle with an equity lens. This doesn't necessarily mean these folks are or would even consider themselves to be data or equity experts. And because of this, we've tried to use plain language throughout the handbook so that anyone at the water boards, regardless of where they are on their data or equity journeys, can use the handbook to support their work. Because there is so much material in the handbook, I actually don't recommend staff read it cover to cover before implementing the recommendations within. If you want to do that, Don't let me stop you and live your absolute best life. But for many, for most, that approach is beyond their interest, bandwidth, time, and capacity. Instead, I recommend a choose your own adventure approach. This could mean only reviewing chapters relevant to where folks are in the data lifecycle as they need to. So if I'm using data collected by someone else, maybe I can skip the data collection chapter and jump straight into the data preparation and analysis chapters. Or maybe you just want guidance on resources related to colors to use in a visualization that you're developing. In that case, I would recommend using the search bar on the left side of the handbook, typing in color, and jumping to the sections that pop up in the results. Or maybe you'll think of a totally different way to use the handbook that works for you. You should do that. From incremental changes that build the momentum of operationalizing equity in our work over time, to completely overhauling how we work in each phase of the data lifecycle in one swift change. The take-home message here is we recommend folks take whatever path works for them and their teams doing the work, given the resources and capacity they have at that time. So this means how you use the handbook will vary over time. It'll depend on the projects you're working on, the time and capacity you have, and the resources you have access to. Before we talk about what's in the handbook, let's talk about how to navigate it. So, starting on the top left, there are a few buttons that can take you to OEMA's webpage or the handbook's GitHub repository. There's also a cool button that can toggle your view from light mode, which is what you'll see on the slides today, to dark mode, which is helpful for the eyes. Below those buttons is the outline of chapters included in the handbook, all of which will link out to those specific pages. Across the bottom of each page, there are links to the immediate and previous and next pages. And in the top right of each page, there will be an outline with hyperlinks to sections on that particular page. I mentioned using the search bar. So some things to note here are that the search is not case sensitive and it can include incomplete words. So typing in TRIB will bring up results for tribe, tribes, tribal, and contributing, for example. When the results come up, you can scroll through them and click on the one that is closest to what you're looking for, and it will take you to that page. What's important here is it won't take you to that reference on the page. So what I do is click on the page and then use my browser's search function, Control F, type in the word I typed in before, and it will then take me to that reference on the page. I mentioned the handbook outline and page outline. These will always be in the same location. The handbook outline will be in the gray bar on the left of the page, and the page outline will be in the top right corner. If you notice little arrows on the right side of the handbook outline in that gray bar, that means that there's more than one page in that chapter, and you can click to expand the chapter to view the subpages. For the page outline, that will automatically expand as you scroll through the page. In both cases, the page you're on or section you're in will be in blue text, regardless of if you're in light or dark mode. And in this case, we are on the data collection page and in the demographics data heading of the common data sources section. The handbook can be categorized into 4 buckets. The first 3 chapters provide grounding, context for the handbook, and quick guidance for folks who are unsure of where to start. The bulk of the handbook includes chapters for each phase of the data lifecycle, which is depicted in the graphic on the right side of the slide. And each chapter provides guidance, best practices, and resources to help staff complete that phase with an equity lens. The use cases chapter provides examples of how the water board staff have worked to operationalizing equity into their data-intensive work. The last 2 chapters have bonus material in the form of an appendix and resource pages. And next, we're going to take a look at what's in each chapter. The Getting Started chapter provides advice on where to start. If you're just beginning to think about how to operationalize equity into your data-related work, whether you're at the beginning of your project or you're somewhere in the middle but want to do more to operationalize equity at that time, we have recommendations for each of those situations. If all you do is complete these items, you will take great first steps into operationalizing equity into your work. In the name of transparency, you will probably have a lot more work to do, but this will be a great way to kick things off. A quick note about the slides as we continue to move through the remaining chapters of the handbook. You're going to notice orange boxes on the handbook and page outlines to indicate where we are in the handbook on the left and what topics are covered on the pages we're looking at on the upper right. Now, on the bottom left of each slide in that blue bar, there will be links to the referenced pages on that slide. The background page covers a lot of what we've talked about previously: the handbook purpose, audience, recommended use, how it was developed. It also covers how OEMA plans on maintaining and updating the handbook moving forward, and instructions on how to contribute or share feedback on how you think it can be improved in the future. Okay, now we're jumping into the first phase of the data lifecycle, the plan and prepare phase. There are 2 pages in this chapter. The planning page walks through how to conduct an equity assessment as you scope out and define your project. The data preparation page walks through what to include and consider in your project's data management plan. Well, there are many steps outlined on both of these pages. The complexity, breadth, and depth of the documents you choose to develop for your project can vary. If you're working on a highly complex, multi-year, or potentially contentious project, you might want to be more thorough in your process and how you document it. If you're just doing a super quick and easy analysis or creating a quick graphic, you might be able to capture that same information in a page or less. The data collection page highlights common data limitations we should be aware of, common data sources people use to complete their data projects with an equity lens, and some guidance on how to conduct your own surveys with equity in mind. There's a well-known joke in the data science field that data science is 80% preparing data, also known as data wrangling or data processing, and 20% complaining about preparing data. The data processing page provides guidance on how to do that hefty 80% using an equity lens. And each section, as indicated by that orange box in the upper right side of the page, walks through why and how one might complete that data-centered step, that process, with equity in mind. The quality assurance page provides some grounding on what quality assurance and quality control, or QA/QC, means, and provides guidance and things to consider when setting up those systems so that they can support the advancement of equity objectives. Right now, the data analysis page is pretty high level and focused on equity considerations and principles. However, we're working with our partners in the Office of Public Engagement, Equity, and Tribal Affairs, or OPEDA, to add more detailed examples of how to conduct demographics analyses in different water-related contexts. Recently, we've added steps on how to use a GIS tool that's meant to help water board staff summarize demographics data. So if you're looking at the handbook live, the page outline on the data analysis page is going to look different from what you see on the slide because we've added that new section. Our partners in OPEDA are also working on writing up topic-specific examples of drinking water, groundwater, point source, and not point source contexts. So how to analyze those types of data sets with equity in mind. And as those examples are completed, we'll get them added to the page. I'd say our heftiest page right now, at the time of this recording anyway, is our data visualization page. There's a lot to think through when creating a data visualization as it is. This section walks through the different design decisions practitioners might want to think through when developing a data visualization or similar data product, and provides recommendations on how to approach the work through a lens of accessibility, equity, and inclusion. We can collect and analyze and visualize all of the data until the cows come home. But if we can't talk about what it all means in a way that resonates with the audiences we're trying to communicate with, it doesn't really matter. And we've just wasted our time and money. The data communication page is here to help with that. From outlining higher level principles like taking a user-centered approach to the nitty-gritty considerations of what it means to use plain, accessible, and inclusive language. So you've developed a data thing. Way cool. We love that. Unfortunately, you're probably not done. The preservation and storage page discusses how to think through your data, project, and product storage and retention plan, and provides a framework and equity-centered questions to consider as you develop that plan for yourself. Again, you did a thing. Congratulations. Let's tell people about it maybe. The publication and sharing page walks through things to consider as you decide how you want to make your project's data and products open and accessible. And when we talk about making things open and accessible, that does not mean we're advocating for every single thing to be made public at all times forever. This page is meant to help folks think more intentionally about which aspects of their projects and products can and should be made public, how to do so according to Water Board's policies, and how to make sure the rest remains secure but accessible to those who need it. So think internal team members and partners. So you finished your project for realsies. Great. Did you achieve the goals you set out to accomplish during your planning and preparation phase? This evaluation page can help you answer that. Specifically, the page walks through how to conduct a root cause analysis and use the results-based accountability tool, as well as a couple of other things that folks might want to consider as you review a project upon completion or get ready to revise a project before it begins its next iteration. As noted in the green tip box on the page, while the processes on the page include many numerical steps, that does not mean these steps must be completed in that order or even all at once. Moreover, teams don't necessarily need to wait until the project is complete to benefit from using these tools. It may be helpful to use some or all of them during the plan and prepare phase, and then revisit and iterate some or all components at multiple points during your project or process. There are many reasons to invest time into documentation. To help increase your project's reproducibility, transparency, and accessibility, it makes it easier to collaborate with others. Good documentation can help save you time in the long run. Or if you're like me, maybe you can't remember what you did 20 minutes ago, so you need to write everything down so that when you pick a project back up in an hour or a week or a year from now, it doesn't take as long to pick things up and begin to make progress. Whatever your reasons, this page helps outline the types of things you might want to invest time in documenting and how to do so with equity in mind. In the future, we plan on creating templates that folks will be able to download, reuse, and remix for their needs, and to help save you time and make it easier to develop thorough, consistent, and clear documentation for our data projects. All of those chapters are great, but sometimes we just want examples of what others have done before us for inspiration, or so we can reuse and remix their methods. The use cases chapter is where we'll be able to find those types of examples. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of examples in the handbook right now, but we're hoping that you can help change that and help us celebrate Water Board's teams that have approached operationalizing equity into their data-intensive work. If you have a use case you'd like us to add to the handbook, please let us know by completing a few questions on the feedback form, and we'll work with you to get it posted. As you'd expect, the appendix includes detailed supplementary material referenced in other sections of the handbook, and the resource page has a list of presentations we're giving this year in 2026. By June, we're going to update the page with this recording, and next to it will be a link to the slides that you're looking at. Beyond that, there are a bunch of other useful topics and links on the right side of the slide that didn't really fit anywhere else in the handbook, or they fit in multiple places. And we wanted folks to be able to access them and find them easily, like links to past water boards data or equity webinars or trainings, and other useful frameworks, toolkits, and resource hubs. Right now, we're focused on taking this handbook on a roadshow and presenting it, rolling it out to anyone at the water boards who will listen. Later in the year, we'll dedicate whatever resources we have to continue to iterate on the handbook so that it continues to evolve and support the needs of the water boards. The handbook is live, it's on the internet, and it has enough material for people to get started, but we know it's not done. It's a living resource for a reason. We have a long list of things that we want to add, improve, revise to continue to make this handbook better for the water boards and our partners. In particular, we would like to work with our equity and data practitioners throughout the water boards to document and share more use cases of how folks are using the handbook to support their data-intensive work. Okay, that was a lot. We're almost done, I promise. Before we end this recording, I just wanted to make water boards folks aware of some opportunities they might want to opt into later this year to support their work. First up is Openscapes. Openscapes is an organization, an approach, and a movement that champions open data science, which includes the tooling and, more importantly, the people that enable reproducible, transparent, inclusive practices for data-intensive work. It does so through their flagship mentorship program, Openscapes Champions, which supports individuals and teams as they reimagine their workflows, develop modern skills that enable open data science, and show how to do all of this more kindly and collaboratively. Openscapes is not your traditional training or workshop, and we've customized some parts of the program for the water boards. Specifically, the Champions program is a 10-week series of virtual cohort-based sessions for individuals and teams, where we introduce concepts and workflows and facilitate teams or individuals to talk about problems they're facing and then go and solve them with accountability and support. It's about working together to get stuff done by identifying barriers or sticking points to how we work and thinking about ways to overcome them using the tech and tools and human resources we have access to. What's important too is that there's sustainability and scalability built in. This is really about strengthening a teaching and learning culture within teams and our organization. It's not just for data or coding experts. All are welcome and can contribute to and benefit from engaging in the Openscapes Champions process. The Openscapes organization has worked with over 150 teams from many organizations nationally and internationally, including those at the water boards, and are part of a global open science movement to engage, empower, and amplify better, kinder, and more equitable practices for data-intensive work. As I mentioned, at the water boards, we've adapted and customized the process and content shared during cohort sessions to address the particular interests and needs of our water boards audience. Here's a high-level view of the timeline for 2026. Some key points to keep in mind. Folks need to apply to join a cohort. Applications will open May 1st and will close June 30th. There will be 2 concurrent cohort options available this year to help with people's calendars and scheduling. Both will begin late August and go through mid-October. And participating in an Openscapes cohort will amount to about 1 to 4 hours a week over the course of those 10 weeks, depending on how you want to engage. Slides 38 and 39 of the slide deck include specific dates for mandatory cohort activities, and our office hours. I mentioned there were different ways to engage in Openscapes. You can join as a participant, and we'll accept up to 40 participants in each cohort, or you can join as a mentor, and we'll accept up to 4 mentors in each cohort. Anyone across all water boards, regions, divisions, or offices and job classifications are eligible to apply to join a cohort. Some individuals external to the water boards may participate as part of a team, but it's strongly recommended that external team members account for fewer than 50% of the individuals on each team. Again, there are links at the bottom of the slide that folks can check out to see if you or your team are ready for Openscapes in 2026. And slides 40 and 41 break down the activities and time commitments expected of participants and mentors respectively. If you have questions about Openscapes and want to talk through if it could be a good fit for you or your teams, please join one of our office hours. The details and dates are on the slide, as well as a direct link to join the Microsoft Teams meeting. Another opportunity to get support in your data and equity work is to join the Environmental Justice Roundtable's Racial Equity Data Subcommittee. This is a welcoming and casual space for practitioners to connect, share their work, ask for feedback, and build community at the water boards. This work is hard because it's hard, and having a community of colleagues that can support you as you undergo this process is helpful. It's important. Again, all water board staff are welcome to join the subcommittee and attend meetings, regardless of their region, division, or office, or where you sit on the org chart. There is no expectation of experience or expertise around working with data or doing so with an equity lens. We are all learning how to do this work, and the subcommittee is a space for all of us to share lessons and learn from one another. The time commitment needed to participate is limited, flexible, and totally up to the individual and their supervisor. While the subcommittee meets 1 hour every 6 weeks or so, folks only need to attend when their bandwidth and capacity allow and can skip guilt-free when they need to. If folks would like to join the subcommittee or just be added to the email list to see what we're up to with no intention of ever joining a meeting, great. Please complete the interest form, which is available through that QR code on the slide, and we'll get you set up. We know everyone's time and bandwidths are limited, to say the least. So we try and use the 1 hour meetings effectively. Our standard agenda structure is listed on the left of the slide, and the 2026 meeting dates are listed on the right. One last thing before we close today. I really want to underscore that we've all got a lot of work to do to operationalize equity. And to be brutally honest, the work probably won't be fast or easy, at least not at the beginning. And it has been my experience that it probably won't be what we expect. There's always curveballs. But how we work matters. It impacts us as the humans doing the work and determines the quality of the products, services, and decisions we make. The Equity Data Handbook, Openscapes, the Racial Equity Data Subcommittee, and OWEMA are here to help. I encourage you to take the time to review what we've gone over today and talk with your teams and supervisors to figure out what fits for you. Thanks again for your time and attention. I know this was a lot to take in all at once. Again, please check out those resources, the slides. There's more information and backup slides that are available where you found this recording. And I hope to see you in one of the spaces we talked about previously. Take care, everyone.